These are some of the best optical illusions that you can download and 3D print today. I've searched online and found 10 amazing files to share with you. I'll show you how they work, which ones look great in person, and others that, well, only look good on camera. And then there's my absolute favorite, which is a Disneyland classic. Alright, let's get started. Let's take a look at these 10 mind-blowing 3D printed illusions that you can download and print today. And of course, I'll be saving my 3 favorites for last. This first illusion makes marbles appear to roll uphill. The file is by Julian H72. The model was very small, so I increased the size to 200%. It took 1.5 hours to print and only used 47 grams of filament. It looks like a simple design, but why do the marbles roll uphill? Well, they actually don't. If you turn the model, you can see what's really happening. The center is actually the lowest point, but from the right angle, it appears to be the highest. So this illusion may look good on camera, but it really doesn't look good in person. You're not going to fool anyone, so you may want to pass on printing this one. Next up is this dragon illusion by Ajax 3D. This hue forged print has just 3 color changes and only uses about 26 grams of material. It took about 5.5 hours to print. After you print it, there is some assembly required. On the back, there's lines that show you where to fold. Just use a heat gun or a blow dryer to heat up the filament and then fold along the edges. For each fold, I needed to heat it up multiple times, folding a little more each time. It does take a bit of patience. After you're done folding, you will need to glue the tabs into place. I used a glue gun for this. The original is called Thinky the Dragon and was created by Bill Ritchie. This illusion works because the face is concave when your brain makes you think the opposite. This assumption is what makes the effect of the face appearing to follow you. After knowing how this illusion works, is your brain still fooling you? Do you still see the dragon following you? This illusion looks good in person too, and it looks better the further back you are. I'd say this one is definitely worth printing. This third illusion is another that looks just as good in person as it does on camera. Overall print time was almost 9 hours, and it used about 150 grams of filament. Assembly is easy. Just add glue to the pin and then insert it into the base. Then add glue again and attach the stream. And then more glue up here, and then you attach the cup. I recommend increasing the infill on the splash to increase the weight of the base. It'll make it easier to balance when it's assembled. And here's the finished model. I think I'll be putting this one in my kitchen. You may have seen this illusion before, or maybe even been in a life-size version of one. It's called the Ames Room, and it makes objects appear to be different sizes from different sides of the room. The same principle is used to create practical effects in movies. In this scene from Lord of the Rings, Ian McKellen and a part of the carriage is a few feet closer to the camera than Elijah Wood. And in this scene in Elf, the desk that Will Ferrell is sitting in is on a platform and a few feet closer to the camera than the rest of the class. The original file was very small, so I increased the size and printed it on my Cobra 3 Max. You will definitely need supports, and you may want to slow down your printer because this was not an easy print. I was able to print it successfully, but I did have to smooth out some areas and clean it up a bit after removing the supports. First, I'll show you the illusion, and then show it again from a different angle. I bring in the green benchy that's on the left. Then as I bring in the orange benchy, you can see it double in size. You can see what's really happening if you look at it from a different angle. In the top view, you can see that the camera is positioned right in front of the center of the model, and the 2 benchies are the same distance from the camera. Well, close to the same distance anyway. I tried. I bring in the green benchy, keeping the distance from the camera the same. Then I bring in the orange benchy at an angle to get it closer to the camera and make it appear larger. Although this illusion looks great on camera, you don't get the same effect in person, unless you look at it in exactly the right spot with one eye closed. These optical illusion coasters are very easy to print and they look great. Overall print time took about 14 hours and it used about 114 grams of filament. I printed these ones on PETG since it's more water resistant and more durable than PLA. This one's my favorite out of all 5 designs. I have a couple more illusions to show you before I get to my 3 absolute favorites. Like the coasters, this infinity cube is another practical print. It took 2 hours and 43 minutes to print and used about 70 grams of filament. Assembly is easy on this one. Just glue one side into the base. After it dries, then you glue in the other side. And here's the finished model. Not a bad way to hold pens, pencils, or these acrylic markers that I use in my 3D prints. Next up is this impossible triangle by Humebeam. This one was inspired by the late Swedish artist Oskar Rudersvard. The print took 31 minutes and used 12 grams of filament. Although this was the easiest print, it's another model that only works on camera. You can only see the illusion from one angle, and it just doesn't work in person. You may want to pass on this one, unless you're printing it to make, well, a YouTube video. But next up are 3 illusions that you're definitely going to want to print. This portal by Ada Cohen is definitely one of my favorites. As you move this ring up, all the parts in the center appear to move up into nothing. This illusion was one of the more difficult prints and assemblies, but it was definitely worth the effort. Overall, the print took about 28.5 hours and used about 380 grams of filament. The outer and inner screws are the most difficult to print. If you run into issues, check out my video about tall prints. Detailed assembly instructions are on the printables page for this file. And here's the final assembled print. And trust me, this one looks just as good in person as it does on screen. But how does it work? There's a slot in the outer ring that fits over the outer spiral. As you move the ring up without letting it turn, it makes a spiral turn. And there are gears at the bottom that make the inner spiral spin with the outer spiral. And as they spin, they appear to be moving up into the top. I also printed the inner spirals with dual color filaments to give the color change effect. Even though this one is more difficult to print and assemble, I definitely recommend printing it. This hologram box is by Sanja 3D. This is another one of my favorites. The files took about 4.5 hours to print and used 164 grams of filament. Assembly is really easy, but you also need a clear piece of plastic. I used some 3mm plastic sheets that I got on Amazon and cut one to size. But you may also be able to find something around the house, like a clear plastic window from a product box. You also may need to make some adjustments to fit your phone. I modified the top to be taller to fit mine. The illusion is called Pepper's Ghost. Light is reflected off the clear piece of plastic placed at a 45-degree angle. The reflection becomes more or less transparent when you brighten or darken the image. When you use a video like this, everything that is black will be transparent and you'll just see the floating image in the middle. If you're already familiar with using video editing software, you can make your own hologram videos too. I made this one with DaVinci Resolve. This is the same illusion that you see in the Haunted Mansion when the ghosts are dancing in the dining room. And speaking of the Haunted Mansion, this one is my absolute favorite print. The Watchful Bust from the Haunted Mansion line at Disneyland. This is one part of the ride that always stuck out to me since I was a kid. I also have larger ones that I made years ago when I first started 3D printing, and I put them out every year for Halloween. The original models are very small, so for this print I increased the size to be 6 inches tall, which is about 333% larger. You'll also want to print them upright to get better quality in the faces. But I also tilted them back to avoid supports in the face as much as possible. For both prints, it took about 6 hours and 106 grams of filament. To add to the effect, I created a box and frames to place them in. That took an additional 6 hours to print and 270 grams of filament. To make this illusion work, you need to paint the front around the faces black, and you want it to be as opaque as possible. I painted 3 coats on these. Then I glued the frames on the box, and then the faces on the inside to complete the look. I love how these turned out, and I'd say they look even better in person than they do on camera. You can also add a backlight if you want a glowing effect. It's basically the same illusion that you saw earlier with the dragon. Because the faces are concave and your brain's making you think the opposite, the faces appear to follow you. So which ones are your favorites? I put links to all the files so you can download them now and start printing. Let me know in the comments what other types of 3D prints you would like to see. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more like it, and check this out next. Thank you for watching.